The last voicemail, she left a voicemail for her husband at 9 p.m. She was found 300 miles away at 9:03 p.m. Kevin Marsh was washing dishes when his phone buzzed. It was 9:02 p.m. on a Friday night in November. His wife, Claire, had gone to visit her sister in Millbrook, about 40 minutes away. Normal Friday evening. Nothing special about it. Kevin was home with their dog, Rex, watching the dishes pile up and thinking about whether to order pizza or actually cook something. He looked at his phone. One voicemail. From Claire. He smiled a little and dried his hands on the kitchen towel. He pressed play. What he heard made him put down the towel very slowly. Claire's voice was on the recording, but something was wrong with it. She sounded far away, like she was calling from inside a tunnel, or from somewhere with no signal. Her words were broken up, static between each sentence. Kevin, I don't know where I am. A pause. Wind noise in the background. I was driving and then I pulled over and I don't. Kevin, I don't recognize anything around me. Her voice dropped lower. There's no one here. The road just goes. Kevin, I'm scared. I don't know. And then it cut off. Kevin called her back immediately, straight to voicemail. He called again. Voicemail. He called her sister in Millbrook. Claire had never arrived. Her sister hadn't heard from her since that morning. Kevin called 911 at 9:11 p.m. Claire Marsh was 34 years old. She was a kindergarten teacher at Riverside Elementary in their hometown of Dalton, Georgia. She was the kind of person who remembered birthdays, brought food when neighbors were sick, and never once in her life had done anything to worry anyone. She had left the house that Friday evening at 7:30 p.m. Kevin had kissed her at the door. She had her purse, her phone, a small overnight bag, and a Tupperware of cookies she had baked for her sister. She drove a white Honda Civic, 3 years old, license plate GGFT 8821. That was the last time Kevin saw her. The voicemail was time-stamped 9 p.m. exactly, but here is where the story gets strange. At 9:03 p.m., 3 minutes after that voicemail was recorded, a state trooper named Officer Ray Daniels was doing a routine patrol on Interstate 24 near the town of Monteagle, Tennessee. Monteagle, Tennessee is 302 miles from Dalton, Georgia. Officer Daniels spotted a white Honda Civic parked on the shoulder of the highway with its hazard lights blinking. He pulled over. He walked up to the car and shone his flashlight through the window. Claire Marsh was sitting in the driver's seat, completely still, staring straight ahead. He knocked on the window. She didn't move. He opened the door. "Ma'am, are you all right?" She turned and looked at him slowly. Her eyes were open, but they looked empty. Like the lights were on, but nobody was home, he would say, later in his report. "Ma'am, do you know where you are?" Claire looked out the windshield. She looked at the dark Tennessee highway, stretching out in front of her. She looked back at Officer Daniels. "I'm on my way to my sister's house," she said quietly. "I'm almost there." Officer Daniels called it in and stayed with her. An ambulance came. Claire was checked out physically. No injuries, no signs of alcohol or drugs, completely healthy. But she was confused in a way that the paramedics couldn't explain. She did not know she was in Tennessee. She believed, completely and calmly, that she was on the 40-minute drive to Millbrook. In her mind, she had been driving for maybe 20 minutes. She did not believe it was 9 p.m. In her mind, it was still around 7:45. And she had no memory, none at all, of the previous hour and 15 minutes. Kevin drove through the night to reach her. When he arrived at the hospital in Chattanooga, he walked into the room and she burst into tears. "I don't understand," she kept saying. "I don't understand what happened." Kevin held her hand and looked at the doctor. The doctor had no answer. The investigation started small. Local police assumed a medical episode, maybe a seizure, maybe a dissociative event brought on by stress. Claire was tested for everything: epilepsy, brain tumours, blood disorders, neurological conditions, Everything came back clean. She was, by every medical measurement, a perfectly healthy 34-year-old woman, but she had travelled 302 miles in approximately 3 minutes. The police looked at this from every angle. They pulled highway camera footage from every road between Dalton, Georgia and Monticello, Tennessee. They tracked the known route, Interstate 75 North, connecting to Interstate 24 West. That drive, on a clear Friday night with no traffic, takes approximately 4 hours and 20 minutes. Claire had done it in 3 minutes, or she had done 0 minutes of it, because here is what the highway cameras showed. Claire's white Honda Civic was recorded leaving Dalton, Georgia at 7:48 p.m., heading north on Interstate 75. Perfectly normal. Normal speed. Nothing unusual. The next camera that recorded her car was the one at the Monteagle exit on Interstate 24 at 9:02 p.m. Every single camera in between, 16 cameras across 3 highway sections, showed nothing. Her car did not pass a single one of them. The investigator on the case, a detective named Phil Armour, stared at the camera logs for a long time. He had been a detective for 22 years. He had worked kidnappings, homicides, and disappearances of every kind. He had never seen anything like this. The car didn't drive there, he told his supervisor quietly. I don't know how else to say it. The car did not drive to Tennessee, but the car is in Tennessee. His supervisor stared at him. Then how did it get there? Armour had no answer. Claire went back to her normal life, because what else do you do? She went back to teaching kindergarten. She went back to baking cookies on Friday evenings. She hugged Kevin a little tighter than before. She slept with the light on for about 6 months, but there were small things that were different now. She started having dreams she couldn't explain. Not nightmares exactly, but strange ones. She was always in the same place in the dreams, a flat, dark, empty space that had no walls and no ceiling and no floor that she could see. Just darkness in every direction. And she was standing in it, completely alone, and it was absolutely silent. In the dreams, she was never scared. That was the part that bothered her most. She was never scared. She just stood there in the dark and felt completely calm, like she was waiting for something. She never told Kevin about the dreams for a long time. When she finally did, he sat quietly and listened and held her hand. How long do the dreams last? He asked. She thought about it. In the dream, it feels like a few seconds, she said. But when I wake up, hours have passed. Kevin didn't say anything. He was thinking about the voicemail, about the 1 hour and 15 minutes that no camera, no witness, no piece of technology on Earth could account for. He never deleted that voicemail. He still has it on his phone. Sometimes, very late at night, when he can't sleep, he plays it again. Kevin, I don't know where I am. He still doesn't have an answer. Neither does anyone else. The case of Claire Marsh was reviewed by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the Tennessee Highway Patrol, and, quietly, unofficially, 2 researchers from a private institute that studies unexplained events. No conclusion was ever reached. No fraud was found. No accomplice. No alternate route. No explanation for how a car and a person travelled 302 miles in 3 minutes without being captured on a single camera. Claire Marsh still lives in Dalton, Georgia. She still teaches kindergarten. She still makes cookies on Friday evenings, but she never drives alone at night anymore. And every single time she gets in the car, even for a short trip, even in broad daylight, she calls Kevin before she leaves and says the same 4 words, I'll call you when I get there. She always does, so far.